She pushed the mop slowly, the wheels of the yellow bucket squeaking just enough to echo down the marble hallway of Franklin High School. Her gray jacket was 2 sizes too big, sleeves rolled halfway to avoid the water, collar permanently folded from years of use. No one looked twice. She was the janitor. The invisible kind. The kind you don't even nod to. But that day, a piece of laminated paper slipped from her back pocket. A student picked it up. "Ma'am, I think you dropped your—" He paused. It wasn't a note. It was a photo. 5 figures in desert camo, helmets off, dust covered. One of them, the only woman, stood with a combat medic patch and a half smile. The student stared. "Is that you?" She didn't answer, just took the photo, stuffed it back into her pocket, and kept mopping. But that moment wasn't forgotten, not by him, not by the camera in the hallway, and not by the teacher who later noticed what was pinned to her backpack the next morning. Because what happened 7 days later, in front of the entire district, under national flags, with medals waiting on velvet cushions, would stop hearts and redefine what respect looks like. If you believe honor doesn't fade with job titles, type "She served" in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth behind quiet lives. Some warriors don't carry rifles anymore. They carry brooms. Her name was Evelyn Maren. 61 years old. 5'2". Tired eyes. Hands that cracked in the winter. She arrived every morning before sunrise, long before students stumbled in with headphones and heavy backpacks. She'd walk the perimeter of the school grounds with a plastic trash grabber in one hand and a black contractor bag in the other. To most, she was just a part of the building, like the clock above the auditorium or the chipped tile near the boys' locker room. Present, but unseen. But what no one knew, what no one asked, was where Evelyn came from, and why, after 23 years of decorated military service, she chose to push a mop in a high school hallway. She wasn't trying to be noticed. That was never the point. After retiring from the Army, Evelyn moved to the quiet town of Arlington Ridge, population 9,834. No family, no close friends, just peace. But peace wasn't enough. Not after Fallujah, not after Kandahar. She needed purpose, routine, something that felt useful without reminding her of blood on sand or radio static during medevac calls. The job at Franklin High came by accident. A note on the bulletin board at the VFW. Custodian needed, evenings preferred, benefits included. She didn't apply for the benefits. She applied for the silence. What she didn't expect was how loud the silence would be. The students called her Mop Lady. Some whispered jokes. Others recorded videos of her polishing the gym floor and added sound effects. She never said a word. Faculty, too, weren't much better. "Hey, Evelyn, I think someone barfed in 3B again," they'd call out from the break room, not even looking up from their phones. Once, during a parent-teacher conference, she was mistaken for a homeless person who wandered in from the cold. She simply nodded, held the door open, and moved on. Let them think what they want. But one day, she made a mistake. She left her locker unlocked, and inside was a folded flag, dog tags, and a combat citation. A sophomore named Tyler saw it. He didn't say anything, not yet, but he took a photo. The photo circulated on a private Discord server among students. Then the questions started. Is she for real? No way that's her. Why would someone like that be working here? Someone forwarded it to Ms. Klein, the history teacher. She zoomed in, then walked into the custodian's closet that afternoon. Evelyn, she said softly, this citation, did you really? Evelyn didn't respond, just kept winding the hose. Klein continued, voice shaking. That's a silver star. You were with the 173rd Medical Unit. This isn't just service. This is valor. Evelyn finally looked up. That was another life. Then she shut the door. But whispers don't stay whispers long, especially when an entire school district is preparing for Veterans Appreciation Week. 2 days before the medal ceremony, the district superintendent announced,
"This year, we will honor our very own local heroes."
Evelyn didn't plan to attend, but a letter appeared in her mailbox. No return address, just the district seal and a simple sentence. This time, you don't get to hide. On the morning of the ceremony, she arrived at her usual hour, 5:30 a.m., wearing her cleaning uniform, keys jangling on her belt, sleeves rolled. The gym was being decorated with flags, streamers, and a velvet-draped stage. Her job was to mop the stage and leave. But when she turned to exit, Ms. Klein blocked the path. You are asked to stay, she said. Evelyn shook her head. I clean. I don't stand under lights. But the microphone crackled. A name was called, not a student, not a local official.
Please welcome Staff Sergeant Evelyn Maren, recipient of the Silver Star for actions in Eastern Afghanistan.
She froze. Everyone turned. The students looked at one another. The janitor? That can't be right. But then she stepped forward, slowly, still in her gray uniform jacket. Still with mop water on her boots, she reached the steps, didn't climb. Instead, with one slow breath, she unzipped the front of her jacket, and underneath, a perfectly preserved Class A uniform. Ribbons, medals, nameplate. Maren. Gasps filled the auditorium. Phones rose. But this time, no one was laughing. No one snickered. Because Evelyn saluted the flag. And the crowd rose as one. But that moment came with a cost. The photo Tyler had taken, now viral, reached the media. And not all the reactions were kind. She's just a janitor. How heroic could she be? Why hide your past unless you're ashamed? Real soldiers don't mop floors. The comments stung more than gunfire, because they weren't wrong, at least not entirely. Evelyn was hiding, and for a reason. Her final deployment had ended in tragedy. She saved 4 men, but lost 2, and one of them, Corporal Jason Dale, had been just 19. She wrote his mother every year, but never forgave herself. Not until the day she received a letter.
If Jason could see what you're doing now, he'd salute every hallway you mop. Keep going.
Mrs. Dale. Veterans Day arrived. The district brought in state senators, local media, and uniformed guards. A special tribute was planned. No one told Evelyn the details. She arrived in uniform this time. Head held high, eyes clear. The student body stood. Tyler approached the microphone. He was holding a certificate, not just for bravery, but for service after service. Some soldiers fight wars, he said, voice trembling. But others fight silence. And they win by showing up every day, even when no one notices. Then he turned and handed the microphone to Evelyn. She didn't prepare a speech. She only said, I served because I had to. I clean because I choose to. And both saved my life.
Students cried. Teachers stood in full applause. The superintendent offered her a new title, Veteran Liaison Officer. She accepted, but only on one condition. I still want the keys. Someone's got to check the boiler room. The gymnasium was never the same. Neither was the school. Because every time someone dropped trash, someone else bent down to pick it up, without being told. Months passed. Her photo, the one from Afghanistan, now hung in the main hallway, next to the honor roll. Fresh flowers appeared under it every Monday. No one confessed who left them. But Evelyn always smiled when she walked by. Not because of the flowers, but because she wasn't invisible anymore. They once called her the Janitor. Now they called her Sergeant Maren. Not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. Again. In silence, in dignity, in grit. And somewhere in a dusty frame, behind a mop closet door, still hangs a folded flag. Still honored. Still watching. 3 months later, in the middle of an unusually cold April morning, the school's head custodian opened Evelyn's old locker. She hadn't come in for 2 days. Not since she quietly handed in her resignation letter, stapled to a folded American flag left on the principal's desk before dawn. Inside the locker, behind the maintenance logbooks and rusting lunch thermos, was a sealed white envelope. It was addressed not to the school, not to the superintendent, not to the Veterans Board, but to one person. To Tyler, it read, in perfect block capitals. The boy was called out of chemistry class. He didn't understand, didn't want to read it right away, but something pulled him toward the empty auditorium. He sat where she had once stood. The letter shook in his hands. Inside was a single page. Kid, I never got to thank you. You picked up more than a photo that day. You picked up a weight I didn't know I was still carrying. Most people walk past ghosts. You saw mine, and you didn't run. That morning in the gym, when I unzipped my jacket, I wasn't showing medals. I was shedding a skin. You gave me that chance. I'm not going far, just somewhere quieter, where service doesn't require sweeping. But you've got years ahead. Walk proud, listen twice, stand for the invisible. And if you ever wonder whether a single act matters, trust me, it does, because it reached someone like me, Semper Fi, Evelyn. Tyler folded the letter 3 times and slid it into the inside pocket of his denim jacket. Later that evening, he did something no one expected. He walked into the VFW post on Main Street, signed his name on the volunteer board, and next to the name he wrote, "Because one mop changed everything." Far from the noise of the school, in a single-story cabin tucked beside an old logging trail in Vermont, Evelyn sat by a wide bay window. No TV, no clock, just a steaming mug, a stack of unread letters, and a view of pine trees swaying in stubborn wind. On her lap was a quilt she never finished. Each square was a patch from a place she'd served: Baghdad, Kandahar, Stuttgart, Franklin High School.
Outside, a pair of deer grazed at the edge of the tree line, but she wasn't watching them. She was reading. The letter in her hand was from someone named Jason Dale's niece. Written in purple ink, cursive slant, barely legible. Dear Miss Evelyn, Grandma says you were with Uncle Jason when he died. She says he held your hand. That makes you special. In school, we had to write about a hero. I picked you. My teacher cried when I read it. I want to be like you, not just a soldier, someone who remembers. Love, Lucy, age 9. Evelyn smiled, the kind that stretched slowly, like dawn over snowy hills. She folded the letter, slid it into a worn leather folder labeled Letters That Matter, and stood up slowly. On the wall above her fireplace was a shadow box. Inside, her silver star. Below it, her last nameplate. And in the center, a tiny school hallway photo captured from a security camera. Her, mop in hand, Tyler behind her, holding a fallen flag. Framed forever. Because sometimes, the smallest image tells the loudest truth. She placed a log on the fire, then turned back to the window. Out there, no one knew her name. And that was perfectly fine. Because once, in a place that needed it, they finally did.